Hello everyone. In today's training session, we're covering tax management in the Onfinity system. The agenda is that we will cover tax category, tax rate, tax region, and tax class. The objectives of the session are to understand the concept and role of tax management in the Onfinity system. We will also learn the process of setting up the tax category, tax class, tax region, and tax rate. Additionally, we will identify the necessary prerequisites and configurations. The prerequisites to set up tax configuration are that users and roles are already defined in the system. Access must also be given to the logged-in user to set up the tax rate, tax category, tax region, and tax class. A tax category allows applying one or more tax rules to transactions based on various criteria like location, tax region, and so on. To record a tax category, prior configuration of tax rate, tax class, and tax region are advisable. We will talk about them one by one in the same session. A tax category can be selected on the Product Master and Charge Master screen to carry out various transactions in the Onfinity system. Consider this scenario. In Germany, sales transactions are subject to multiple VAT rates, a standard rate of 19%, a reduced rate of 7%, and a zero rate of 0%, depending on the type of goods and whether the sale is interstate or intrastate. A tax category groups these tax rates along with applicable tax classes and regions, allowing the Onfinity system to automatically apply the correct VAT rate based on the transaction details. Let's move to the system and see how we can configure this scenario. Log in with your username and password. This is the homepage of the Onfinity system. You can see the various mosaics listed here. Since it's a newly created tenant, you'll find null data displayed here, but as soon as we enter data, the widgets will start to show useful information. In the top right section, you'll find Login User Details. If you apply the filter, it will show the data of the organization which is selected. However, if you remove the filter, you will have access to other organizations as well. For now, let's remove the filter and click the Change button. To navigate to the tax category screen, you can simply search tax category in the search utility, then click on the result. Alternatively, you could go to Financial Management and then under Accounting Setup, you'll find the tax category screen. This is the user interface of the tax category screen. You'll notice a standard tax category is already created here. This was part of the tenant creation process. Whenever you create a new tenant in the Onfinity system, a standard tax category is automatically created by the system. To change the view from grid view to single record view, you can click on the name of the tax category showing with a hyperlink. So, we will rename it as Standard Rate 19% as per our scenario for Germany. In the default tax field, we will select the default tax as VAT 0%. This default tax will be picked by the system when all the tax preferences defined on the Tax Preferences tab do not meet the criteria. The commodity code is used for tax calculation. The active checkbox is for marking the record as active or inactive. The default checkbox is used to mark this tax category as default. If you want to add a short description, you can enter it here in the description box. Now, save the record. Move to the next tab, Tax Preferences. You can't add new records here. A single record can be created which is maintained by the system itself. Here, you can apply various preferences based on which you want tax to be applied. The available options are document type, location, tax region, and tax class. You can apply a combination of more than one preference here, and the system checks and validates the given preferences one by one, picking the attached tax rate whichever meets the criteria first. For our scenario, I'm selecting the preference as location. As soon as I select location, another field for location becomes enabled, which asks the user to provide an invoice or ship address. In our case, we don't need to select any of them. Now, save the record. Move to the next tab, Configure Tax Rule. Here, on this tab, you need to provide the actual tax rate to be picked by the system at the transaction level. To add a new record, click New Record. The organization would be a star only, as this category is created by the system in the star organization alone. The tax category shows the header name of this category. The tax base field is used to define the basis for which tax is to be picked. As per our scenario, it is location, so we will select location here. The tax rate field is used to select the rate at which the tax rate would be applied on the above selected tax base type. As per our use case, we will select 19% here. And in the country field, we will select Germany. If this tax rate is applied to a specific zip, then you can define it here. If it is applied to a zip range, you can mark the Enable Zip Range checkbox as true and provide the zip range. However, our scenario doesn't require any zip or zip range, so we are keeping it as false. Now, save the record. Similarly, if you want to attach a tax with a tax region, you can add it as well. To do this, click New Record. Then, select the base type as tax region. Now, select the tax rate which is to be applicable on this tax region, and provide the tax region in the tax region field. In a similar manner, you can also attach the tax rate with a specific tax class. You would select the tax base as tax class, then select the tax rate and tax class. As per our scenario, we are going with location only. We will also set up tax region and tax class in this same session. After completing this training session, you can try setting up all of these configurations on your own and apply various tax rates to different tax regions or tax classes. This is how we can set up a tax category in the Onfinity system. Let's move back to the Header tab. Click on the Home button. In a similar way, we can also create the tax category for reduced rate 7% and other tax categories as per business needs. Let's move back to the presentation. A tax rate is a percentage at which an individual or corporation is taxed. There can be different taxes specific to countries having different tax rates. Summary level tax can also be configured in the Onfinity ERP, which is a group of multiple child taxes. This is not calculated itself, but summarizes the child tax calculation. For example, GST. Consider this scenario. A business sells products or services that are subject to a standard VAT rate of 10% according to tax regulations. Let's move to the Onfinity system and see how we can set up the tax rate. To navigate to the tax rate, you could go to Financial Management, and then under Accounting Setup, you'll find the tax rate screen. Click on this. This is the user interface of the tax rate screen. You'll find the system-created tax rate as default tax and the tax rate that we used in the previous scenario of tax category. To enter a new tax rate, click the New Record button. Select the organization under which this tax rate is being created. Enter the name of the tax rate as per our scenario. You can provide the valid from date here. Beyond this date, the tax rate would be applicable. The SO or PO type field is used to select if it's a sales tax or purchase tax. In this case, we will select both. The tax indicator identifies the short name printed on the document. In the rate field, we enter the percentage of the tax rate, which is 10% as per the scenario. If any surcharge is applicable along with this tax, then it can be selected here. If this rate being created is a child tax of another tax, then it should be selected in the parent tax field. A surcharge is an extra fee, charge, or tax that is added to the cost of a good or service beyond the initially quoted price. Summary level tax is for reporting purposes only, which isn't calculated by the system itself, but summarizes the child tax rate calculation. For example, goods and service tax is specific to Indian taxation. Consider this scenario. A business sells products or services that are subject to a standard VAT rate of 10%, according to tax regulations. The Claim Tax checkbox indicates if this can be used for claims or not. The Default checkbox indicates if this record will be used as a default value. If the Include in Cost checkbox is marked as true, then this tax rate would be added to the cost of the product. Sales tax identifies if it's a sales tax, not value-added tax. The Requires Tax Certificate checkbox indicates that a tax certificate is required for a business partner to be tax-exempt. The tax-exempt checkbox is marked as true if the business partner is exempted from tax. So we have defined VAT 10%. Now, save the record. Let's move to the next tab. This tab is used to provide a zip or postal code range for the tax rate to be applicable. Click New Record. The organization and tax would be picked from the Header tab. In the Zip and Zip to field, you need to provide a range of postal code for which this tax rate would be applicable. For our scenario, this is not required, so undo the changes. Let's move to the Default Accounting tab. To change the view from Grid View to Single Record View, click on the name of the tax rate with the hyperlink. This tab is available on the master data screens, and it helps to post the tax in appropriate ledgers. Unique parameter combinations are defined by the system against each accounting default. Let's move back to the header. Click the Home button. So, this is how we can set up a tax rate in the Onfinity system. Let's move back to the presentation. A tax region refers to geographic areas where a specific set of taxes applies. These regions often have specific tax rates, exemptions, and rules based on their location or jurisdiction. For example, a tax region could include a combination of country, state, city, and districts. Consider this scenario. An online fashion retailer headquartered in Italy sells clothing and accessories to customers across the European Union. The business operates on a B2C model and has a growing customer base in countries like Germany, with a VAT of 19%, France, with a VAT of 20%, and Spain, with a VAT of 21%. For this scenario, we will create 3 different regions in the system. Let's move to the system and see how we can configure the tax region. To navigate to the tax region, you could go to Financial Management, and then under Accounting Setup, you'll find the Tax Region screen. Click on this. This is the user interface of the tax region screen. To create a tax region, click on the New Record button, select the organization, and provide the name of the region as per the scenario. If you want to mark this as the default region, you can do so with this checkbox. If you want to give any short description, you can fill it in the description box. Now, save the record. Let's move to the Tax Region Details tab. Click New Record. The organization and region will be fetched from the Header tab. Select the country Germany as per our scenario. If you want to select a particular region or state, you can select it in the region field. If you want to provide a specific postal code in the region, you can mention it in the zip field. Alternatively, you could also enable the zip range checkbox to provide a specific zip range where the tax rate would be applicable. Currently, these are not required in our scenario. Save the record. We just defined Germany as a tax region. Similarly, we will follow the same steps for France and Spain. Move back to the Header tab. Click New Record, select the organization, and provide the name as France. Move to Tax Region Details, and click New Record. Select the country or region, if any applies. Save the record. Move back to the header. Click New Record, select the organization, and provide the name as Spain. Save the record. Move to the next tab and click New Record. Select the country and region, if any, then save the record. Now move back to the header. We have created 3 different regions as per the scenario. The respective tax rates can also be created, and those would be attached to these regions through the tax category screen. We have already gone through the tax rate and tax category setup. This is how we can create the tax regions in the Onfinity system. Let's move back to the presentation. A tax class is used to define multiple tax classes for sales items, purchase items, customers, and vendors. As per business requirements, a tax class can be used in the document type, customer master, and vendor master screens. Consider this scenario. An electronics retailer in France sells products across the EU. A government agency in France places an order for laptops. Since this is a tax-exempt entity, VAT should not be applied. To handle this, we configure the Onfinity system using tax classes. Let's move to the system and see how we can set up the tax class. To navigate to the tax class, you could go to Financial Management, and then under Accounting Setup, you'll find the tax class screen. Click on this. This is the user interface of the tax class screen. To add a new class, click on New Record. Select the organization under which this class is created. The search key would be auto-generated by the system while saving the record. However, you can enter it manually if you want to. Provide the name of the tax class as government entity as per our scenario. Now, save the record. As per the scenario, we need to bind this tax class on the vendor master or customer master. To do this for a vendor, search for vendor master in the menu and then click on the search result. Move to the main screen. Click on the name of the vendor to change the view from grid to single record view. Go to Additional Conditions and select the tax class here. Finally, save the record. Similarly, to do this for a customer, search for Customer Master in the menu. Move to the main screen. Click on the name of the customer to change the view from grid to single record view. Go to the Additional Conditions and select the tax class here. Then, save the record. This is how you can attach the tax class to the customer or vendors as per your needs. You can create a tax-exempt tax rate and attach this rate to a tax class through the tax category screen. We've already gone through the tax rate and tax category setup. This is how we can configure the tax class in the system. This concludes the session. Thank you.